So I'm going to do a short clip on how we kind of moisten our egg boxes, just for those of you who haven't done this before, maybe working on your first clutches. It's fairly simple. Let me pull the lid off here. So we use the bulkier grade vermiculite. We've used the finer grade that you can get like at Home Depot or Lowe's in the past. I found that most of the time, being compacted like that, sitting, can cause the eggs to mold. So I started sticking with this. We order this stuff through Uline. We get in big, bulky bags. It works great. Seem to find that the bulkier stuff, there seems to be and tends to be a little bit more airflow under the eggs. Which I think when we air the egg boxes, that keeps it from going stagnant underneath them and just kind of sitting in something damp, and which I feel probably is a good reason why a lot of them can mold. This stuff works really great. So what we do is we just add a little bit of water to start off with, and just kind of mix that in. You might find information where you can add so many cups per volume of vermiculite, which probably works pretty good too, but we've been doing this so long that I can pretty much eyeball it and get a feel for it and tell about where we're at. So what you're going to want it to do is kind of clump up like this. You don't necessarily want water dripping out of it. I mean, I squeeze it usually pretty tight. If I feel any droplets of water coming out, for me, that's a little bit too wet. So at that point, I might take a little bit of the wet out if the box is pretty much full of vermiculite, and add a little bit more dry, which seems to work pretty well. Again, you want to grab it and just kind of clump it together. And that for me is about just right. If you're kind of skeptical, I mean, I would definitely recommend to mix it up a little bit more dry, because you can always just add water to the sides of the boxes without disturbing the eggs, just to give it a little bit more moisture in it. So this egg box is about ready to go. These are going to be Blizzard Cow King eggs we just did a video on. So I'll get those set up in this, and then for us, they usually go about, depending on temperature, for us they usually go about 58 days. Cows can go all the way 63. I've had some go 70 at lower temperatures, but that's not really common for the temperatures that we use. I mean, most of the time it's not even necessary really to use an incubator. You can just kind of put them somewhere where you can kind of maintain the temps. It's not going to get too warm or too cool. It's always been said the longer they incubate, the bigger the babies will be, or the healthier, which sometimes I found that to be true, not always. We usually just use a consistent temperature throughout, and it's usually around 82, 83 degrees. I don't normally go any higher than that. That way, if there is any heat spike, it has a little bit of room to go higher. And like I said before, we've had excellent hatch rates. Hardly ever lose anything. Our clutches usually do pretty well. But anyway, this is basically how we set them up. Fairly simple. Like I said, if you don't have an incubator and you're working with colubrids, it's not always necessary to use one. In the past, we used to just put them up in a cupboard or up in a closet with a little probe in there, digital thermometer. Even if they stayed down in even 76, 78 to 80, was usually fine. They'll go a little bit longer, but it's not a problem at all. They can usually fluctuate pretty good, you know, compared to like pythons. Pythons got to have more consistent temperature throughout. Colubrids have a, you know, a bigger window for the temperatures to go up and down. So they're fairly easy to incubate. I mean, it's awesome if you know, everybody's into these reptiles, and you get down the line, decide you want to breed them. There's nothing else like hatching out your own babies. I mean, once you see those little heads pipping out, it's awesome, man. I love it myself. You know, but if you ever decide to do that, I always, you know, recommend having an outlet to market your animals. Make sure they go to good homes. Make sure it's an animal, you know, especially with cow kings, you got your permits if you're in California or whatever. And, you know, you have a good way to market those babies so you're not sitting on them and just ending up with a bunch of babies that you're not able to care for, things like that. But it's definitely an awesome hobby. I love it. Look forward to all the stuff we got coming up this year. We'll keep everybody posted. And anybody watching, hopefully this helps out. If you have any questions regarding setup of the eggs, temperatures, or anything, feel free to always hit us up. You can also go on our page on Facebook, ROG Reptiles. And we're always available to answer any questions or let you know what animals we have available or coming up. So hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And we'll see you next time.